Oregon's Harvest, a show about all the bountiful food grown and caught right here in Oregon. I'm Jeff Gianola. You'll find out where it comes from, meet the people behind it, and learn why it's easier than ever to eat locally grown food. Our first story takes us west to the Oregon coast, where the pioneering spirit is alive and well. There's something magical about the Oregon coast. No matter the season or the weather, it calls to people. For most, it's just a visit. But for the people you're about to meet, the call of the sea changed their lives.
Effectively, I kind of feel like the universe just decided that this wasabi farm needed to exist, and we happened to be the conduit.
For Jennifer Bloser and her husband, the dream of starting a wasabi farm began with two simple facts.
99% of the wasabi that you eat is fake. And also, we learned that wasabi has tremendous health properties.
Plus, wasabi is a plant that seems to be made for the unique and challenging climate on the Oregon coast.
Anything that's cool and rainy and foggy is perfect for wasabi.
So from there, the dream began to take shape. Through a network of friends, they found farm space on the coast, and with both of them still working full-time jobs, they started their wasabi farm.
It's kind of a leap of faith. It's a huge leap of faith. We broke ground in January, which I would not ever recommend. The May after that, so 15 months later, when we saw that the plants actually had grown rhizomes, we were super excited because you don't know until then.
9 years later, the business is thriving as the word spreads that wasabi isn't just for sushi.
The way we're approaching wasabi growing is kind of wasabi for the people. The whole plant's edible. And we sell to the culinary market. We sell the rhizomes, which can be grated fresh. And most of our chefs actually are not sushi chefs. We sell to French restaurants. We sell to Italian restaurants. The juice of the wasabi leaves and the stems is out of this world. It's like, I don't even know how many times more spicy than the rhizome.
Oregon Coast Wasabi is the first farm of its kind on the coast. But they aren't the only ones recently inspired to try something that's never been done before. A few miles inland on the North Fork of the Nehalem River are some other Oregon agricultural pioneers.
I joke that my lifestyle these days is completely different than what I was doing 10 years ago, skateboarding, going to punk rock shows, and then now here I am pouring tea for my elders.
For Brigham Edwards, it wasn't just the magic of the Oregon coast that changed his life, it was Ginger.
When Ginger and I found each other, I ended up moving out here to the farm, and just been life-changing events happening pretty continuously ever since.
Ginger and Brigham Edwards own North Fork 53, a small farm and bed and breakfast that specializes in another unusual crop here in the U.S. tea.
There's only about 30 farms in the whole country producing tea, and in Oregon there's only 2 farms, and we are one of those and the only one on the Oregon coast. It doesn't get too cold here, it doesn't get too hot, so crops that like that kind of even scale of temperature and a lot of precipitation do well here. Tea, it grows all over the world, so certain types of tea will really enjoy that, and it'll produce a much milder flavor than some of the teas you get closer to the equator, like India and Sri Lanka. So it'll actually be more like a high mountain Chinese tea. We're hoping.
They hope because they haven't actually harvested any yet. Tea plants take 3 to 5 years to get established before you can start plucking the leaves, so they don't know what it's going to taste like yet.
It's kind of an experiment, but so far it's doing really well. And we're traveling to different countries, and we're going to Japan this fall, and we're trying to learn from people who have been doing this for thousands of years how to process and handle the tea.
They say they'll be able to start harvesting their own tea in the next 3 years. But in the meantime, they have their bed and breakfast where they host guests and retreats, plus a thriving herbal tea business made mostly with plants from their gardens.
Just really love the idea of moving towards a perennial systems where not everything is getting tilled up all the time, so the crops come back year after year. And my husband was really interested in herbalism. I was looking for a perennial crop, so we kind of met at tea. And I grow herbs for the tea blends, the tea plant itself.
They have more than 300 tea plants and more than 150 different herbs on their farm.
We grow marshmallow, catnip, tulsi is our big one, anise hyssop, bergamot, rose hips, all the mints. The fennel we grow for seed. It's wonderful for the beneficial insects, but it's also just like a great flavor in teas.
For Ginger and Brigham, their business and their life on the coast is about much more than tea.
What interests me about tea is the way it can make you slow down and enjoy more of the moments of life.
You come here to relax and calm down and unplug and just rejuvenate yourself from fast-paced city life.
Being able to relax for a moment, watch your tea being brewed, I think it's more important these days for as much as stress as people are putting on themselves and our busy lifestyles, that this is something that needs to be more accepted in our culture.
Ginger and Brigham took a chance on an industry that's rare in Oregon. But next we're headed out to sea to meet a fisherman who took a leap of faith into one of Oregon's oldest industries.
There's just so much here. There's so much to explore, both on the land and in the water. Summer, as you can see, can be sun-drenched and beautiful. But there's something magic about the wintertime. For as much rain as we get here, there's also just spectacular days in the wintertime. The air will get crystal clear after a rain, and everything just comes into this sharp focus, and it's beautiful.
It wasn't long ago that Kristen Penner was living a very different life in sunny Eastern Oregon, running her own restaurant.
It was a small farm-to-table restaurant. We started as a farmer's market stand in Pendleton and Walla Walla. We served fantastic steaks and Oregon-caught seafood, just food made from scratch, raised by people who care. It was an incredible experience. Really gave us a great appreciation for the local food producers and local food network.
But no matter how much she and her business partner love their work,
Love Eastern Oregon. It's an amazing countryside and beautiful people. But the ocean was just calling to us. Seemed like it was only a matter of time before we moved down here full time.
so they did, not just moving, but plunging into the most quintessential of coastal careers as crab fishermen. But they had little money, no experience, and most importantly, no boat. But that didn't stop them.
Aaron had been studying the Pacific City dories, and so he drew plans and started building it in the winter. And by the next season, we were able to fish it. Well, being new to it, it was very challenging to learn the different layers of regulation and learn how the industry worked. Really learned a lot by the other fishermen here, learning from them through the last few years.
They made it up as they went along, and now Kristen owns and operates Blue Siren Shellfish out of the port of Garibaldi.
We have a two-man crew and operate a small fishing dory. Mainly we fish for Dungeness crab, and we also harvest wild clams and some unique shellfish along the coast here.
When you think of sea to table, Kristen and her partner Aaron are living it. All morning you'll find them hauling in crab in their little dory boat called the Stormtrooper, or raking clams on the shoreline. Then all afternoon they're on the road, personally delivering crab and hand-harvested shellfish, like these gooseneck barnacles, to restaurants up and down the coast, and even as far as Portland.
Yeah, Olympia Oyster Bar, Arizo, Toro Bravo. One of the things that's really wonderful is being able to know exactly when our catch came out of the water and then be delivering it to them often the same day, within 24 hours. You really are so connected to nature by necessity, and you have to learn the tides, read the tides. So it's really a wonderful way to utilize everything that's coming out of the water in a sustainable way.
Coming up, you've probably bought produce from this farm dozens of times but never realized it. We'll take you behind the scenes at a farm in Sherwood that grows one of your family's staple foods.
Oregon's first Pinot Noir vine was planted in 1965. Today we have over 1,000 vineyards dotted throughout the state. Oregon is the third largest wine grape producing state, with a focus on small batches and premium wines enjoyed here and around the entire world.
welcome back to Oregon's Harvest. I'm in Sherwood, Oregon right now. And our next story begins at a farm just up the road that's been supplying potatoes to Portland area families for more than 50 years.
So these particular potatoes today are red potatoes. These are going to go to Reese's Fine Foods for potato salad. We'll pull out any foreign material and then they'll get delivered right here to Hillsboro. And then they'll be made into potato salad within 24 hours.
Skeeter Amstead will tell you everything you ever wanted to know about Oregon potatoes, except his own recipe for potato salad.
Can't really tell you all those secrets. A little bit of vinegar is a key though.
Most people associate Idaho with potatoes, but Oregon's not far behind. As the third largest producer in the United States, Oregon potatoes are shipped across the country and around the world. But if you're buying fresh potatoes in local grocery stores, there's a good chance you've eaten some from Skeeter's farm.
Selling local was what we started at. That was the roots of our business. Also, it's a perishable item, so it's something that needs to be fresh. And so we can control our quality best by keeping it close by, saves the carbon footprint. It's less fuel, and it just makes more sense to us.
And they sell to many of the local stores you probably shop at every week.
Fred Meyer being one of our larger customers. Winco also a super customer right here in Woodburn. We go to Cash and Carry, some of the local produce houses in Portland that go to restaurants.
Skeeter is the third generation running Amstead Farm, and selling to local grocery stores is something his family has been doing for a long time.
My grandpa came over from Switzerland through Ellis Island, ended up here in Shoals in like 1943. When my dad started farming, he had bigger aspirations than that. Grocery chains were just starting to happen. And my dad thought, you know, that's what I want to do. I want to deliver to distributions and grow. And that's kind of when we started growing.
50 years after his grandfather started farming, they're able to get potatoes out of the ground and onto store shelves all over the Portland metro area in about 48 hours. And sure enough, we found the same bags on the shelves inside Portland's Hollywood Fred Meyer's, where I met up with Chef Leif Benson, Oregon's culinary ambassador.
Let's talk potatoes. Look at this.
Leif says potatoes are often called the world's first superfood, and for good reason.
These are high nutrition, only about 110 calories per potato. It has more potassium than a banana, you know, and more vitamin C than a grapefruit, of all things. I mean, it's really quite amazing.
I mean, that's pretty stunning.
And proteins are quite high also, around 10%. A lot of nutrients are in the skin. So eat skin. Skin's awesome. You know, give them a scrub, cook them.
Now, how do you like to personally prepare potatoes?
Well, you know, being a chef, you know, I'm kind of all over the map. I used to make great gnocchi, you know, light, fluffy gnocchi. I love doing that with the russet potato. As a baked potato, I do an olive oil, salt and pepper on them. I get them to about 210 degrees internal temperature for the perfect potato doneness.
You know, that's good information because most people don't know that there's a perfect temperature for a baked potato.
Yeah, because most people kind of squeeze them and poke them, don't know. But a probe thermometer in the middle of it, 210 degrees, perfect, just spot on.
When it comes to mashed potatoes, Chef Benson says Yukon Gold are a great choice because of their nutty and sweet flavor. But it's hard to pass up the taste of a classic russet potato, like the ones they grow at Amstead Farm in Washington County. They're a great source of nutrition, affordable.
Besides that, they're just really good.
Next, we're going into the kitchen with an Oregon State University chef to learn some creative ways you can add more locally grown food into your family's meals.
The Oregon trawl industry that catches rockfish, sole, and pink Oregon shrimp is a nationwide leader in sustainability efforts. Our fisheries are among the most well-managed ones in the world, certified under the Marine Stewardship Council. Oregon seafood is keeping it wild, traceable, and sustainable.
Welcome back to Oregon's Harvest. From the fertile soils of the Willamette Valley to the arid deserts of southeastern Oregon, we're taking you all across the state to show you which crops are thriving, then showing you how to use them in your kitchen.
I
think one of the great things about Oregon, and certainly Oregon agriculture, is just the diversity. No matter what you like, we can grow it practically in our backyard. So whether you want fresh cherries from Hood River in the summer, or you want a local Christmas tree, we have it all here. We grow, raise, or harvest over 225 different commodities. Whatever you're looking for, we almost have all of it in Oregon that you can buy local. And we have a lot of diversity, not just in what we're growing, but the different types of growing regions. We have 8 distinct growing regions, really supporting all of that diversity. In Northeast Oregon, of course, they've got cattle and hay production. They're producing products like potatoes and mint, but also onions. The largest producing onion region in the country is the Treasure Valley. Southeastern Oregon is so beautiful in its own right and really stunning. From the Steens Mountain Range to sagebrush to dry lakes and salt basins. Cattle and hay production really dominate the agricultural production in that area, but you also can find row crops like sugar beets and onions being grown there. So the Mid-Columbia really runs along the Columbia River, and in just 80 miles it spans from a temperate rainforest all the way to grassland. Tree fruit production really dominates from apples to cherries to pears. It's the #1 economic driver in Hood River and Wasco counties. As you move your way east out of the Mid-Columbia region into the Columbia Plateau, over the past century, irrigation has really transformed that region into an economic agricultural powerhouse. From row crops like onions to potatoes and other vegetables, all the way to watermelon and so much more. Also, it's the heart of our dryland wheat country. So quite possibly one of the most diverse regions in the state is the Willamette Valley. It covers more than 1.5 million acres of farmland, and over 170 different products are being grown here. Today, we're here on a hazelnut farm, but we grow so many different other crops here, from berries to fruits and vegetables, to Christmas trees, wine grapes, hops, grass seed, nursery products, literally the list goes on and on. One of the reasons that we are able to support so much diversity and some of those really high value specialty crops is because of our world-class rich soils that we have here in the valley. So in the Southern Oregon region, it goes from high desert to wide open valleys. That landscape is really able to support wine grapes, tree fruit, and potatoes really dominate the production there. Dotted up and down the Oregon coast, you can find many vegetable farms in your backyard. It's also home to our cranberry industry, of course, our seafood industry, and many dairy farms. Central Oregon is high desert with warm days, cool nights, and plenty of sunshine. Central Oregon has a prominent hay and cattle industry, but they also grow a variety of specialty seeds like carrot seed, other vegetables, and a growing medicinal herb market such as St. John's wort. So the next time you're traveling through Oregon and you notice the terrain change and you're in one of these different regions, really experiencing and buying some local agriculture and food products is a great way to experience some of what we've talked about today.
Hi everybody, my name is Jason Ball and I'm the research chef here at Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. I'm here today to take us through a whole day of meals using products that are grown here in Oregon. We're going to start with breakfast. I think it's a great idea if we do it the night before, and then we can enjoy it when we're on our way out the door the next morning. So in this case, what we're going to make is an Oregon porridge. We'll start with a little bit of oats, and then we're just going to pack in strawberries, chia seeds, a little bit of salt actually, apples and pears, toasted hazelnuts, hazelnut butter, blueberries. We will top this off with some hazelnut beverage. And now we're just going to put this in the fridge and let it sit overnight. You can see all of this nice layering with berries and fruits and hazelnuts. And we're going to start our day with the Oregon porridge. Let's move into lunch. We are going to make a salad, and absolutely every ingredient is from Oregon. The first thing we do is we take our butternut squash and we cut it in half, and we put it in the oven about 350 degrees and let it go for about an hour. The next thing we're going to do is make our pickle brine. This is apple cider vinegar, water, mustard seed, garlic, and a little bit of salt. Bring that up to a boil, and then we're gonna actually pour it over our sliced onions. We're gonna go ahead and stick those in the fridge. After a little bit of time, this is what you get. Some nice, crispy, crunchy pickled onions. And so now what I'm gonna do is start getting all of the other items that we have to cut ready for our salad. We'll start with some pears. Next thing we're gonna do is cut up these beautiful peaches. Remember that overcooked squash we were talking about? This is it. You get these really nice, beautiful chunks. Some carrots. These I've just sliced and steamed. Cranberries. So these are frozen. If you cut them while they're frozen, it's really easy to cut them in half. Some hazelnuts And then this is actually a little bit of the pickle brine. I'm gonna use a touch of this for the dressing. And then these herbs, we've got chives and mint here, and then we've also got carrot tops. I just like to tear these up nice and uneven, and you'll get some big chunks. Some butter lettuce, again, I'm gonna tear it up. And then we're gonna mix it here in this bowl. And we're just gonna top it off with a little bit of Oregon olive oil. Here's our everything Oregon salad. Great way to have a local lunch. Now it's time for dinner. And what we're gonna do is actually make a pear, squash, and hazelnut pizza. First thing we need to do is actually make our butternut squash sauce. What I've done already is cubed up some butternut squash, combined it with onions, garlic, chili flakes, and water. Again, we just cook it until the squash is overcooked and blend it up. And we want it to be a little bit chunky because what we're gonna do is add some fresh herbs. What I've chosen is rosemary, thyme, oregano, and marjoram. And then we end up with this beautiful squash pizza sauce right here. Now we're ready to build our pizza. What I've used is a whole wheat dough here. I'm gonna put the sauce down first. Just spread a nice thin layer. We've got our pears, toasted hazelnuts again, fresh goat cheese, some mozzarella, and a little bit of prosciutto that we're gonna sort of tear up and toss on the pizza. That's it. So now we've got this pizza, we're ready to roll. We're gonna put it in our oven at 500 degrees. Should take about 10 minutes, but what you wanna keep an eye for is making sure that the crust isn't burning, so you can kind of rotate it and just keep an eye on it. Let's put it in. We've got our cooked pizza. But the last thing I'm gonna do before I cut it actually is add a few more fresh herbs. I didn't add these in the beginning because I didn't want them to burn while the pizza was cooking. And now it's time to have dinner. This is what it looks like to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner made with products that are grown here in Oregon. We've got our Oregon porridge, we've got our everything Oregon salad, and then we've got a delicious pear, squash, and hazelnut pizza that I'm actually gonna cut into right now.
Still ahead on Oregon's Harvest, we're headed to Cannon Beach to show you how local chefs and brewers are showcasing one of Oregon's most treasured harvests, Dungeness crab.
Oregon's Farm to School program ranks #1 in the nation, providing $15 million to bring locally produced fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy products, meats, and seafood into our school children's lunch program. This program reaches more than half of all Oregon students and benefits over 300 Oregon producers.
Our final story takes us to beautiful Cannon Beach to see how they're sourcing, cooking, and serving one of Oregon's most treasured foods.
You can see right here that we have this beautiful backdrop of the Pacific Ocean. Local wild seafood is incredibly important to us, and Dungeness crab is one thing that we feature year-round.
We source as much local crab as we possibly can. We really like to use two boats that run out of Astoria. One is the fishing vessel Defiant, and the other is fishing vessel Ironclad.
We're kind of focusing on the area that we live in. You know, if it's close to us, it's going to be fresher and it's going to taste better.
Trying to do our best to just showcase the pure, clean, simple flavor of Oregon Dungeness crab meat. We've got locally grown new red potatoes. We've got a house-made bratwurst. We've got local corn, sweet onions, and then a ton of Dungeness crab. And then we're tossing it all with Old Bay, so it's kind of a riff on a classic crab boil, but a little more refined.
We actually have a beautiful sandwich, a warm Dungeness sandwich with a boursin cream, a little bit of cheddar on it as well. They melt it, all those just nice and gooey and yummy and sweet.
Our crab cakes don't have any eggs or bread as a binder. We actually use a wild tiger prawn mousse, which really holds them together and produces a nice decadent crab cake.
We've got the Wayfarer's Dungeness crab cocktail. We've taken some shaved celery, fresh Dungeness crab meat. On top, you've got a little more celery, and then we do a horseradish vinaigrette over the top.
Crab's just delicious by itself, but with beer it's even better. With crab, I'd pair our 67 Blonde Ale. Goes great with any kind of seafood.
We do sweet pea and crab risotto, curried Dungeness crab tartina, has just a little bit of Indian curry, corn velvet soup, a real silky soup with fresh Dungeness crab, has the garnish inside.
Breakfast, you can have a crab omelet and you can have a crab cake Benedict. For lunch, we have a crab Louis on the menu. We have a hot Dungeness crab sandwich.
When you come to the coast, there's just a couple main things that people really, really want. Dungeness crab and wild king salmon are probably two of the hottest items that we have, and that's right in our backyard.
That right there is a happy camper.
Who's ready for a trip to the coast? Thanks for watching Oregon's Harvest. Until next time.
Oregon represents more than 200 family dairy farms where they make some of the highest quality milk in the U.S. That milk provides us with great tasting cheeses, yogurt, butter, and don't forget about ice cream. Thanks to Oregon dairy farmers, and a big thank moo to Oregon's great dairy cows.